Help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. She looked me dead in the eye one night and said, "You'll get intimacy on my terms." Her voice was calm, steady, like she'd just declared the new law of the house. We were sitting in her living room, half-empty wine glasses on the table, Netflix humming in the background. I remember the way she said it, casual, but final, like she'd decided my needs were optional. Her name was Brooke. She was confident, magnetic, the kind of woman who turned every room into her stage. When we first met, everything felt electric. But somewhere between the laughter and late nights, that electricity became control. At first, it was small things, canceled plans, withheld affection, cold silences disguised as space. I thought it was just stress or her needing time. But then it became clear. This wasn't distance, it was strategy. She didn't reject me outright. She rationed attention like a prize. I'd get a kiss when she felt generous, a touch when it suited her. Weeks without warmth, followed by a single night of connection that made me believe things were fine again. It was psychological starvation. She called it boundaries. I called it power. I didn't fight her. I didn't beg. I started studying her instead. The patterns, the timing, the triggers. When she'd pull away, when she'd reach out. It became predictable, mechanical. And that's when something in me began to change. The breaking point came on a random Wednesday night. We were at Olive Garden, sitting across from each other in that dim, soft light they used to make everything look romantic. She was scrolling her phone while I was talking about a project at work. Then, without looking up, she said, "You always need so much." I froze. She wasn't talking about attention. She was talking about intimacy, connection, effort. The very things she'd stopped giving. I remember just sitting there, staring at her, realizing that I'd become the background noise in her life. A convenience. So, I did what she never expected. I stopped asking. I still looked the same, still showed up, but inside, I'd already pulled the plug. No confrontation, no anger. Just silence. Cold, calculated silence. That night, when she rolled away from me in bed like she always did, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, calm for the first time in months. She didn't know it yet, but I was already gone. And when I left, I wasn't taking revenge. I was taking back the power she thought she owned. After that night, something in me shifted quietly but completely. I didn't announce it. I didn't make a scene. I just started detaching in small, invisible ways. When she'd text me during the day, I'd wait hours before replying. When she'd call, I'd let it ring. And when she finally got my attention, I'd give her nothing but calm politeness. That was the first time she started noticing what real distance feels like. Brooke was sharp. She'd built her whole life around control. Control of people, of emotion, of timing. But what she never understood was that silence has its own power. She used to say, "You always overreact." Now she didn't get a reaction at all. At first, she laughed it off. Tried to test me with her usual games, flirting with other guys in front of me, posting little single girl quotes on her Instagram story, pretending she was unbothered. I didn't comment. I didn't even look. I just carried on like she wasn't the center of my world anymore. Because she wasn't. The more she pushed, the calmer I became. That calmness scared her. She started calling late at night, suddenly missing me, asking why I was so quiet. I'd say I was just tired. She'd pause, waiting for me to ask about her, but I never did. I gave her nothing to feed on. Around that time, I began spending my evenings alone. I'd drive my Ford F-150 to the edge of town, park by the lake, drink black coffee from Starbucks, and watch the reflection of city lights ripple across the water. I wasn't escaping her. I was learning how to live without needing her. One night, she showed up at my place unannounced. She said she felt disconnected. She stood there in one of her oversized hoodies, acting fragile. But it wasn't guilt in her eyes. It was fear. Fear that the leash she'd built was snapping. When I didn't invite her in, she smiled in that practiced way and said, "I just wanted to see you." I nodded, stepped back, and closed the door gently. No drama. No raised voice. Just finality. That's when I realized something important. She'd never been scared of losing me. She'd been scared of losing control of me. And now, for the first time, she finally had. The next few weeks were silent. She stopped calling, stopped showing up. But I could feel her watching, through social media, through mutual friends, Through the small things she'd still try to control. I'd post a picture from a night out, nothing dramatic, just me and a few friends at Olive Garden. Within minutes, she'd view it. Sometimes she'd post something right after, her laughing, holding a drink, pretending she was fine. It was a quiet war, fought through the screen, but the difference was that I no longer cared who won. I kept my distance, but I didn't disappear. That's what made it worse for her. I was still visible, still moving, just no longer orbiting around her gravity. When she realized that, she started cracking. One night, around 2 a.m., I got a message from her. "I can't sleep." I didn't reply. The next one came an hour later. "Are you awake?" Still, I said nothing. I could imagine her pacing, replaying the moments she once controlled, wondering when everything flipped. What she didn't know was that by then, I'd started seeing her patterns for what they really were, a system of rationed affection. The same way she used to hand out small doses of warmth just to keep me dependent. That realization didn't make me angry. It made me detached. I understood now that every kiss, every word, every withheld touch was a transaction, not connection. So I stopped paying. The next time she reached out, she said she missed the old me. I knew what she meant, the version of me that tried, that explained, that begged. That man was gone. I replied with one line. "You taught me how to live without it." She didn't respond. That night, I slept better than I had in months. By the end of the month, she started unraveling publicly. Friends told me she'd shown up to a birthday dinner overdressed, tense, trying too hard. Someone mentioned she'd started wearing makeup everywhere, even to the gym. It was as if she was trying to prove she still had control over her image, even when she'd lost control of her reality. And I knew then, she wasn't sleeping peacefully anymore. She was sleeping in armor. She used to ration intimacy like power. Now she craved the very thing she'd taught herself to withhold. When she realized her usual tricks didn't work anymore, she switched to desperation disguised as vulnerability. A message here, a late-night call there, all dressed in the language of regret. "I've been thinking about us," she wrote once. Not you, us. She still couldn't let go of the idea that we were something she could define when it suited her. I read the message, then locked my phone and went back to watching Netflix. Detachment had become muscle memory by then. I didn't need to prove anything. The silence spoke for me. A few days later, I saw her by chance. She was leaving a Target parking lot, loading shopping bags into her car. She looked tired, distracted, her movements sharp and restless. The woman who once moved through life like she owned it now looked like she was holding it together with shaking hands. I didn't say anything. I just watched for a moment before driving off. That night, she texted again. "You saw me today." No question mark. Just a statement, like she was trying to remind me she still existed. I didn't respond. What I didn't expect was how fast her facade would collapse after that. A mutual friend told me she'd been avoiding people, skipping work, isolating herself. She used to be the one who rationed presence, rationed affection. Now she was the one starving for it. There was something almost tragic about it. Not satisfying, just quietly sad. Because I knew what that kind of emptiness felt like. The difference was, I'd faced it and grown from it. She'd run from it until it finally caught up to her. Weeks later, another message came. This one was longer. She said she never meant to hurt me, that she thought she needed space, that she was trying to find herself. All the usual words people use when they realize control isn't the same as love. I didn't delete it. I didn't reply either. Some lessons don't need explanations. The next morning, I woke up early, grabbed my coffee from Starbucks, and drove out past the city limits. The sun was coming up over the highway, clean and quiet. For the first time, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. She thought intimacy was power, but she'd confused control with connection. And now, stripped of both, she finally had to face what she'd built her entire world to avoid: silence. By the time fall came, the silence between us had turned into something permanent. Not forced, not bitter, just inevitable. She'd stopped reaching out, and I stopped checking if she did. But still, her name would appear sometimes. A new post, a mutual friend mentioning her, an accidental sighting in places we used to go. And each time, I'd feel less and less. Then one evening, Lauren, our mutual friend, called me. She said Brooke had shown up at Olive Garden, the same one where everything started, sitting alone at the bar. She looked like she was waiting for someone, Lauren said quietly. But I don't think she knew who. I didn't ask for more details. I didn't need to. I could picture it perfectly. The low lighting, the half-finished glass of red wine, the smile she probably practiced in the reflection of her phone screen before realizing no one was coming. The same stage, but the wrong audience this time. A few days later, she texted again. Do you ever think about me? I didn't reply right away. I waited until the next morning, finished my run, grabbed my usual Starbucks, and then typed, sometimes, but not the way you want me to. Then I put my phone face down and walked away from it. That's when something shifted again, not in me, but in her. She started trying to reclaim what was gone. Subtle things at first. Posting throwback photos of us on her story, tagging places we used to visit, sharing quotes about self-growth that sounded too close to guilt. It was a quiet campaign for redemption. But what she didn't realize was that the person she was trying to reach didn't exist anymore. The man she broke had evolved into someone who didn't need the validation she used to hold hostage. Lauren told me later that Brooke had been going through a phase, working longer hours, isolating, showing up at work in full makeup, even on casual Fridays. She said Brooke seemed restless, unable to sit still. It made sense. When someone builds their worth around control, losing it feels like suffocation. I wasn't celebrating her downfall. I wasn't even angry. I just knew she was finally living in the silence she used to give me. She used to ration love like oxygen. Now she was the one gasping for air. It was early November when I saw her again. I hadn't planned it. I was picking up groceries at Walmart, the usual late-night run after work, when she turned the corner of the aisle. Her cart hit mine. For a second, it felt like time stopped. She looked different. Still beautiful, but fragile in a way she'd never allowed herself to be before. Her hair was tied back, makeup done too perfectly for a grocery trip. She smiled like she'd been waiting for this moment, but her eyes said something else. Fatigue, regret, maybe both. She said, "Hey," in that soft voice people use when they're trying to sound calm, but every word trembles. I nodded, kept my tone even. "Hey, Brooke." We stood there for a few seconds that felt longer than they should have. Then she said, "You look good." I thanked her. She tried to hold the silence, like she used to, but now it worked against her. The longer it stretched, the smaller she seemed inside it. Finally, she said, "Can we talk? Just for a minute." We stepped aside near the self-checkout lane. She started talking fast about how she'd been working on herself, how she'd realized what she'd lost, how she never meant to hurt me. I listened without reacting. Not coldly, just quietly. Then she said something that stayed with me. "I thought keeping distance would make you chase me. I didn't know it would make you forget me." For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Not because I missed her, but because I could see that she finally understood the cost of her own game. I told her I didn't hate her, that I actually hoped she'd find peace. She nodded, biting her lip like she wanted to say more, but there was nothing left to say. As I left, I saw her reflection in the glass doors behind me, standing still, holding her phone like she didn't know whether to call someone or cry. That image burned in my mind, not because of sadness, but because of symmetry. She used to ration closeness like power. Now she was the one begging the world to see her. That night, driving home in my Ford F-150 with the city lights fading in the rearview mirror, I realized something simple but final. I didn't know her closure. I had already given it to myself. After that night at Walmart, she started showing up in the background of my life again. Mutual friends' posts, random texts, the occasional, "hope you're doing okay" message that always came too late at night. I didn't reply, not out of cruelty, but because there was nothing left to say. But silence has a way of echoing louder for the one who caused it. And for her, it started to echo everywhere. Lauren told me Brooke barely left her apartment anymore. She'd started working from home, ordering everything online, Amazon boxes stacking up at her door like reminders of a life she was trying to fill. She was still active online, posting quotes about healing, but people noticed the cracks. The filters were heavier, the smiles thinner. It wasn't just loneliness. It was the collapse of control. For the first time, she wasn't the one dictating who got her attention or affection. She was the one waiting for it, craving it, and everyone could see it. I never wanted to humiliate her. I just wanted peace. But peace has a way of exposing truth, especially for the people who built their confidence on keeping others off balance. One night, out of nowhere, She texted me a photo of the lake where we used to go on weekends. Just the water at sunset, calm and empty. Under it, she wrote, "I get it now." I stared at that message for a long time. There was no manipulation in it this time. No agenda, just exhaustion. The kind that only comes when someone finally stops running from the mirror. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. Because in a strange way, that message felt like an ending. Not the explosive kind, but the quiet sort that comes when both people finally accept the story's over. A week later, Lauren mentioned Brooke had started going to therapy. She said Brooke looked different, like someone who'd finally admitted she'd lost something she couldn't replace. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt detached. The version of me that used to chase her approval was gone. What replaced it wasn't pride, but peace. And in that peace, I understood something she never did. Love isn't about control or conditions. It's about presence. And when you weaponize absence, eventually, it turns on you. She once rationed intimacy like power. Now she lived in a world where no one handed her warmth without reason. Winter came slow that year. The air felt heavier, quieter, the kind of cold that makes you reflect on things you thought you'd buried. I hadn't heard from Brooke in months, but she lingered in small reminders, songs playing in diners, old photos hidden deep in my phone, her name showing up in memories I didn't invite. Not painful anymore, just distant, like an echo from another life. Then, one evening, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. It was Lauren. Her voice was cautious, like she was trying to decide how much to tell me. She said Brooke had asked about me again, that she'd been going through a rough patch. Not dramatic, just quiet. Isolated, like someone slowly fading out of her own story. I didn't say much, just listened. Then Lauren said something that stuck with me. She doesn't talk about what happened anymore. She just stopped pretending she was fine. A few days later, Brooke sent one final message. Short. "I hope you're doing well. You deserve peace." That was it. No explanation, no hidden plea. Just words that finally sounded human. I read it twice, then typed back. "You too." It was strange how simple it felt. No pain. No closure needed. Just calm. After that, I stopped waiting for anything from her. I started waking up earlier, working out again, meeting friends for dinner at Olive Garden on weekends. Life became steady, predictable, and for the first time, I didn't crave chaos. One night, while driving home, I caught my reflection in the window of my Ford F-150. I looked different. Not older, not colder, just clearer. Like someone who'd walked through fire and learned to appreciate silence. People think healing comes with dramatic endings, but it doesn't. It comes in small, quiet realizations. The ones that remind you peace isn't something someone gives you. It's what's left when you stop needing permission to have it. Brooke once told me, "You'll get intimacy on my terms." But in the end, she taught me something better. How to find strength in absence. How to stop chasing what drains you. And how to become untouchable without becoming bitter. Now, when I think of her, I don't feel anger. I just see the lesson. The quiet truth behind all her control. She rationed intimacy. I cut her off like power. And she never saw the blackout coming. Spring came early that year. The air was lighter, the streets busier, but I noticed how quiet my life had become and how much I loved it that way. I wasn't waiting for anyone's call, wasn't reading between words that never meant what they said. My days were simple. Work, gym, dinner, silence. I'd park by the lake some evenings, grab a black coffee from Starbucks, and watch the water move without needing to share the moment with anyone. It wasn't loneliness. It was freedom. Then one night, I saw her again. Brooke. It was at a friend's birthday dinner. I didn't know she'd be there. When she walked in, it felt like the air shifted. Not heavy, just unfamiliar. She looked different. Softer. More human. The makeup was subtle this time, her posture less guarded. When our eyes met, she froze. For a moment, no one else existed. She came over, nervous but collected. "I wasn't sure if I should say hi," she said quietly. I told her she just did. That made her smile for a second. But it wasn't the smile I used to know. It was something fragile, like she didn't trust it anymore. We talked a little. About work, mutual friends, nothing deep. Every few sentences, she'd pause, searching my face for any trace of the man who used to need her approval. But that man wasn't there. She noticed. You could see it in the way her voice started to shake slightly, like she realized she wasn't part of my world anymore. Before leaving, she said, "You seem happy." I nodded. "I am." She smiled again, but this time her eyes dropped to the floor. "Good," she whispered. But I heard what she didn't say. That word carried regret, nostalgia, and the quiet understanding that she had built the walls that now kept her outside. When she left the restaurant, I didn't watch her go. I just sat there, calm, drinking water and listening to the low hum of people laughing around me. For the first time, I understood what real closure looked like. It wasn't forgiveness or final words. It was indifference. That night, driving home through the city, I caught my reflection in the glass. The calmness in my eyes wasn't about winning or losing. It was about control, the kind that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. She once rationed affection like currency. Now she'd learned the cost of scarcity. A few months passed after that dinner, and life settled into something steady, almost serene. I had my routines, my peace, my distance. Every morning felt clean, predictable, a life unshaken. I thought that was the end of it. Until one night, she showed up again. Not uninvited, but unexpected. It was late. I was sitting outside my apartment, sipping coffee, the air still warm from the day. Her car pulled up slowly, headlights washing across the driveway. When she stepped out, she hesitated like she wasn't sure she should be there. She walked toward me, holding something in her hands, a small box. She said she'd been meaning to return it. Inside was my old watch, the one I'd left at her place months before I disappeared. She handed it over, her fingers trembling slightly. Then she said, "I thought I'd keep it, but it didn't feel right." I nodded, thanked her. She lingered a moment, searching my face for something that wasn't there anymore. "You really did move on," she said quietly, almost to herself. I didn't deny it. I just told her I found peace. She looked down, then smiled. A real one this time, faint but honest. "You know," she said, "I used to think control made me strong, but all it did was make me lonely." For the first time since everything fell apart, I saw her without the armor. No games, no control, just a woman who'd finally faced the wreckage she caused and survived it. Before she left, she asked, "Do you think people like us ever really get it right?" I told her maybe it's not about getting it right. Maybe it's about learning when to stop forcing something that's already gone. She nodded, stepped back, and whispered, "You deserved better." Then she walked away. No drama, no tears, just quiet acceptance. I watched her leave, not out of nostalgia, but gratitude. Because for the first time, I wasn't chasing or escaping. I was simply present. When I went back inside, I placed the watch on the counter. It wasn't about time anymore. It was about closure. She once said, "You'll get intimacy on my terms." But in the end, it wasn't intimacy I needed. It was clarity. She rationed love like control. I cut her off like power. And what I got in return wasn't revenge. It was freedom. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.